Hello, dear learners. Hope you all are doing very well. Excellent. So, here I'm Dr. Noora Abdul Kader, again here on this platform of Swayam on this very particular course, Advanced Statistics in Education, to discuss one of the most important topics that is related to educational statistics. So, today we will be discussing about certain modern data analysis approaches, especially in social sciences. So today in this lecture, I'll be focusing on two major important analysis techniques, that is structured equation modeling and also mediation moderation analysis. Clear? In the last class, we discussed about various parametric and the non-parametric test. We also discussed about certain different aspects like data transformation and also the various other software that we use in social science research. So today, very particularly, we will be discussing on the structural equation modeling, that is the SEM, and also mediation moderation analysis. Clear? So let's move on. Why this particular topic? That is very important. Why structural equation modeling and also the mediation moderation analysis? There is a particular reason for that. Because we know that in today, especially in the case of the social science researchers, we deal with certain complex relationships, various complex relationships we are dealing with, and also the already existing methods like correlation and regression analysis may be limited to explain certain kinds of complex topics, certain type of complex relationships it won't be able to explain. So in such a cases, in order to deal with certain complex relationship, like not one variable affecting the other variable, that is a simple relationship. We want to learn about certain intervening variables, moderating variables, mediating variables also, which is coming in between the course of the study, and that may entirely change the result, or it may affect the independent or the dependent variables also. So such kind of complex relationships are being studied with the help of the advanced methods, and we are discussing about two different advanced method, that is structural equation modeling and also the mediation moderation analysis. So first of all, we will look into structural equation modeling. So here we will be discussing about the characteristics and the major steps and also the importance of the structural equation modeling. And even in structural equation modeling also, we will be using different statistical techniques, and the hands-on experiences of those statistical techniques will be given in the coming sessions by different faculty members of the department. So here, what is structural equation modeling? Structural equation modeling, or SEM, that is considered as an advanced statistical techniques in order to study the complex relationship among the variables, and it includes both the direct effect and also the indirect effect. Usually when we are employing any kind of statistical techniques, it learns about or it studies the direct effects. So it may not give a proper result for us. Sometimes we may get a result which is adjusted. So here, in order to get a proper result, that means both the direct effects and also the indirect effect, we are using structural equation modeling. So it will be very clear when I am telling about the direct and also the indirect effect with examples. Here, there is a latent variable and also the observed variables. So observed variables are usually direct. That means the data we can directly measure. That is considered as the observed variables. And see, for example, like test scores, attendance, grades, etc. But here in the case of the latent variable, that is a hidden construct that cannot be measured directly. That means we cannot directly measure it, but its influence is making variation in the result. That is considered as the latent variable, that is motivation, attitudes, and teaching effectiveness. Now it is clear what is direct and what is indirect. Now again, moving on to the structural equation modeling. Structural equation modeling, in a way, we can say that it is a combination of factor analysis and also regression analysis. Factor analysis to show the latent variables. Again, moving on to the example, to show the latent variables. And next, regression analysis to show how variables influence one another. So it is a combination of both factor analysis and also regression analysis. Otherwise, it is a measurement model plus the structural model. It is a combination of the measurement model and the structural model. So measurement model means it shows how observed variables reflect the latent construct, and structural model means it shows how latent constructs relates to one another. So both combination of the measurement model and the structural model makes the structural equation modeling, and it will be more clear when we are moving on to the examples. I think the latent and observed variables are clear for you. When we are moving into the steps, we will discuss with one particular examples and it will be more clear to you. So now we are going to discuss about the various steps of structural equation modeling. So here I have taken the certain steps over here. There are total in 5 steps, and the first step is model specification. Model specification means we have to decide which variables are related. What are the related variables that we are specifying at the onset itself? That is what known as the model specification. And the next step is model identification. That means we have to ensure that enough data has been collected with respect to all the variables. That is the second step, which is known as the model identification. And the third step is model estimation. That means we have to use different kinds of software according to the assumption, and also according to the type of the study, we can use different softwares in order to compute the relationships. And the fourth step is the model testing. Model testing means we are checking the goodness of it, whether our theory goes wrong or whether the theory is perfect. And next, the last step is model modification. That means any kind of improvement, if necessary, we have to make that kind of improvement. In detail, we'll look into each and every step with proper explanation and also exemplification. So before going into the stepwise instruction or stepwise detailed explanation, we have to keep one example in mind. So here I have taken an example. Teacher feedback may influence achievement directly and also indirectly through motivation. That means the achievement may be influenced by the feedback of the teacher, or it is through motivation. The feedback is given and the students are getting motivated, and then the achievement is being taken place. So let's check with this particular example of the structured equation modeling. That is, we have taken one example. Keep that example in mind. Teacher feedback may influence achievement directly and also indirectly through motivation. Okay, so by keeping in view of this particular example, we are going to discuss the other steps. First step, that is a model specification. As I have already told you, we are deciding which variables are related. In model specification, we are deciding which variables are related. Okay. So as for our example, feedback leads to achievement. It is direct, isn't it? There is a direct result. When you are giving proper feedback to the student, it leads to achievement. And the next one is feedback also leads to motivation. When you are giving positive feedback, it may lead to motivation of the students. Next one, that motivation may lead to achievement. That means motivation increases achievement. More effect is being made when the teacher is giving feedback and the students are getting motivated, highly motivated, and there is increase in their achievement. It is very clear. Feedback leads to achievement, feedback leads to motivation, and that motivation is leading to the achievement. This particular part. So teacher feedback may raise scores directly and also by making students more motivated. If the student is giving a feedback to, if a teacher is giving a feedback to the student that you have written well, but you can improve. So he may try hard and he may make his achievement better the next time. But if this teacher is telling that you have improved a lot, and you have made me elated because of your result, I'm just happy with your result, the student may get more motivated, and the high motivation can lead to high achievement. Okay, so here that was the first step. You have to identify the variables. What are the variables which is intervening in that, or what are the various other variables which is directly giving the output or the result. And the next step, that is the model identification, which means we have to ensure enough data to estimate the parameters. We have to collect enough data. So let's see what are those. First one, before testing, before going for the analysis, you check if you have enough data to study all these relationships, which means in our particular example, we have to make sure that we have collected data on all the three, that is the feedback, the motivation, achievement. From enough students we have collected the data or not, we have to ensure that. Now, it also means that if any particular kind of information is missing or not measurable, the software cannot give us the required output, or the required result may not be given by the analysis techniques, whatever sophisticated techniques that you are using. If you have not provided the complete data, or if you have provided some missing information, or the information which are not measurable, the output will not be proper, output will not be the required result. And also, this step is considered as that we are making sure that our model is possible to test with the data you have given. Whatever data you have given, that data is enough to test whatever possible objectives that you have framed. That data is enough to measure it. That is the major part of the second step, which means you have to collect data. You have to collect data of all the aspects, or all the variables which you have chosen. There should not be missing information, and finally you are ensuring that from these data you are able to get the result. Next step, that is the model estimation. So as far as the model estimation is concerned, it means we are using software to compute the relationship. It can be any program like MOS or R. Here we can say that we are just calculating how strong enough is the arrow mark. That means how strong is that complex relationship. That is what we are making over here. So here, feedback gives motivation. It indicates a strong relationship. Motivation leads to achievement. That is also a strong relationship. Feedback directly leading to achievement, it forms a weak relationship. Of course, it forms a weak relationship because we know that feedback gives proper motivation, and high motivation is leading to high achievement. That is the major part that we are discussing over here. That is the variable which is motivation. That is directly and also indirectly giving a better result with respect to achievement. So that means good feedback increases motivation, and motivated students score high. But feedback alone may not rise marks unless it boosts motivation. So only if you are giving the feedback, and if there is no effect of the feedback on the motivation, only if you are giving a feedback to the students, sometimes high score may not be achieved by the students. So this step, that is the model estimation, is finding out how strong and important each connection is. Each connection, how strong and important it is, that is what we are giving through the model estimation. I hope it is clear. Moving on to the next part, that is model testing. Model testing means checking the goodness of the fit. We are checking the goodness of the fit. For example, we have chi-square test, which is known as the checking the goodness of the fit. There will be another session where the resource person will be giving you about a detailed explanation and also hands-on experiences about chi-square learning. So I'm not going into that. So let's see what is goodness of fit in this particular step of SEM. That is, does my theory really match that happens in the classroom? You are just checking, does it really match? So whatever assumptions that I have made, does it really match according to the real classroom situation? The software tells you that how well your model fits the data while applying various kind of test. So here if it says good fit, then your idea makes sense. If it says poor fit, then you have missed some theory, or you have missed something, or your theory must have missed something. Okay, so if your data shows that, in our particular example, if our data shows that feedback increases motivation and achievement, and the result says the models fit well, then the theory works. Of course, the theory is working over there, isn't it? That is what our theory, isn't it? If the test, after analysis, after putting into the statistical analysis of various tests, it found that it is already aligned with that of the goodness of the fit, then our theory also fits well. That step is known as the model testing. Model modification, that is improvement if needed. If any kind of improvement is needed, we have to go for that particular improvement. Or otherwise, in a way, we can say that if your model doesn't fit well, you may make small changes, but only when that changes make sense, isn't it? Like a data transformation, like that. If you feel that it is because of the slight change that I have to make over here, and based on that particular slight changes you can make the goodness of fit, then of course you can go for it. Maybe in our particular example, the data shows that students confidence, we haven't taken that. Okay, the students confidence also play a role better than motivation, and feedback are more closely linked to that you thought. The feedback, if you feel that the feedback, it is more closely linked to that of the confidence compared to that of the motivation, then our theory does not fit, isn't it? So we have to make certain kind of improvement over there. So that is, this steps means improving your model to make it closer to what it happens in the real classroom, which is known as the model modification. Okay, I hope that step is also clear, and that was our last step. Now we will have just some pondering on why we have to use structured equation modeling. Here, it tests multiple relationships simultaneously, like teacher, feedback, motivation, confidence of the students. So, multiple relationship can be checked continuously and simultaneously by using SEM. And it handles latent, we have already discussed about what is latent and direct variables. It handles latent unseen constructs like motivation and also the self-concept, for example. And it shows direct and indirect effects. We have also discussed that within a single model, it gives us a detailed explanation of both the direct and also the indirect effects in one model. And also it offers visual clarity through path diagrams. With the help of visual diagrams, with the help of flow charts and also path diagrams, it gives us a visual clarity also. Just like I have given a small example, a simple example by using certain arrows. Goodness of fit indicates us to show that how the model fit well. Whether our theory goes wrong, then the correction need to be taken. If it is appropriate, then we can give assurance to our goodness of fit. We can give assurance to our result. So that is also possible through SEM. So because of these reasons, we can say that we can use SEM. So after having the discussion on the structural equation modeling, we will have a glance on the mediation and moderation analysis. We will discuss about the mediation and the moderation analysis. So here, first have a look on what is mediation. Here, mediation occurs when an intermediate variable is also known as the mediator. So, mediation occurs when an intermediate variable explains the how or why one variable affects the other. How one variable affects the other, that is being explained by the intermediate variable. So that is known as the mediation. So in simple, when mediation is tend to be occurring over there, we can say that yes, there is mediation when an intermediate variable is explaining the how and why one variable is affecting the other. It is because of that particular variable we can show the effect of the one variable on the other variable. It will be clear from this example, that is teaching method to student motivation to academic achievement. That means teaching method is leading to student motivation and then it is leading to academic achievement. Here, motivation mediates the relationship between the method and the achievement. This is the mediator over here. Just like what we have said in the SEM, structural equation modeling. So here, teaching method is one variable and academic achievement is the independent variable. And teaching method is the independent variable, academic achievement is the dependent variable, and the mediating variable is the student motivation. Steps so that we can more understand about mediation, that is teaching method is leading to motivation and motivation is leading to achievement, and teaching method can also make a direct achievement, but the achievement is more effective or the output is more when there is the mediating variable. So if the effect of the teaching method on achievement decreases when motivation is included, isn't it? So that means the effect of the teaching method increases, and when the effect of the teaching method is increases when we are excluding the motivation. So motivation is a factor that is major considered as a part for the complete achievement or the proper achievement. So that is why we can say that teaching method is leading to motivation and motivation is leading to that of the achievement. Here you should not be confused with this fact that teaching method on achievement decreases when motivation is included, isn't it? So that means the mediation exists. It is because of the mediation that the achievement is increasing. So that is why the term decreases and included is being used over here. When we are going on to a real classroom example, let's take a particular scenario. The scenario means a school introduces collaborative learning technique and the researcher wants to know whether the collaborative learning technique is improving the academic performance of the student. Or in a way, if we frame a sentence, it will be like impact of collaborative learning or effectiveness of collaborative learning on the academic performance of the students. So what they found, collaborative learning increases motivation and motivation increases achievement. So that means collaborative learning on achievement works through motivation, and hence we can say that motivation acts as a mediator over here. So that is to clarify, to make an analysis on the real classroom example. I hope it is clear. Let's move on to the next slide. Moderation. So we have discussed about mediation. Now let's have a glance on moderation. So here moderation occurs. When does moderation occurs? It occurs when the strength or direction of the relationship between the two variables changes depending on a third variable moderator. That means the strength or the direction or the relationship between the two variables is changing depending on a third variable moderator. When there is a third variable which is acting as a moderator, the relationship, the strength or the direction or the relationship between the variables changes. How is it? Let's have an example. The relationship between teaching style and students' achievement, it mainly depends on the gender. That means if the teaching style helps girls more than boys, the gender moderates the relationship. That is an example. So here, when the teaching style is helping more girls compared to that of the boys, gender is a moderator over here. The gender moderates the relationship between the teaching style and the student achievement. If we take another example, we can take a scenario that is a study examines, the teacher feedback improves the student confidence. The feedback of the teacher improves the confidence level of the students, but the effect is stronger for high achieving students compared to that of the low achieving student. So the achievement level acts as a moderator over here, isn't it? For high achieving student, teacher feedback gives better confidence compared to that of the low achievers. So hence we can say that achievement level act as a moderator over here. I hope it is clear with both the examples. Let's have a glance on the key differences between the mediation and the moderation. It explains how and why, that is mediation. Moderation explains when or for whom. And when we are taking the variable type, intervening variable is there as far as the mediation is concerned, and conditioning variable is there as far as the moderation is concerned. Example, motivation mediates between teaching and achievement. Gender moderates between teaching and achievement. Both the examples we have already discussed. Now, combined models, that is the mediation moderation model. In the real research, we usually use the both mediation and moderation model. That means teaching method leading to motivation, motivation is leading to achievement, that is mediation. This affects stronger for girls than compared to that of the boys. Its affects stronger for girls and compared to that of the boys, that is the moderation. So we use both mediation and plus the moderation model analysis. This is what known as the moderated mediation model or the mediation moderation model. I hope it is clear. That is the mediation and also the moderation model. In summary or in conclusion, in a nutshell, we can just look on the major takeaways from this particular lecture. That means the structural equation model, a framework that include both mediation and moderation simultaneously. You might have received that particular information right now, that it include both mediation and moderation model simultaneously. Apart from that, these models helps us to solve, or we can move from simple cause effect to multi-layer understanding of the educational behaviors. Also, they reflect the real life educational dynamics where learning outcomes depends on multiple interacting factors. So these are the major takeaways, including structural analysis model, structural equation modeling, and both the mediation and also the moderation simultaneously. So that was the major summary, and here are a few references for your kind perusal. I have taken it, you can go through it, and I think the class was effective with that of the SEM, the mediation and also the moderation model analysis. Let's hope we all can employ this in our research and we can make a better research output, a better research result. Thank you so much and have a nice day.